Welcome to this week's episode of Amusement Park Road Trip. I'm here with Pumpkin Boy himself, Brandon.
Welcome to ASMR Road Trip.
It's a nice soft voice. It's either spooky or jazz radio. So today, we're just going to jump right into it. Today we're talking about HellsGate in Lockport, Illinois.
Just dive right into hell.
Yeah. And last week, Brandon, you picked one of your favorite haunts in the country, even though we haven't been there, just from what we've seen. One of your favorites was Dent's Schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm.
This is by far my favorite, which is HellsGate. And again, Lockport, I believe, is pretty close to Chicago. Have you heard of HellsGate?
Have I heard about it before? I was going to say, I have not heard about it. No, what was I going to say? I have heard about it a lot ever since you introduced it for an idea for the episode. So there you go.
Oh,
Other
okay.
than that, I hadn't been exposed to it. No.
And what do you think so far? Just a quick, what do you think?
Oh, man, it is something else.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do not want to go to it.
No? Too scared?
I know that's something we save for the end, but it looks so scary.
Yeah.
I would have a time at this haunted house for sure.
Right. Before we start walking through the haunt, we have some quick facts. So this haunt, again, in Lockport, Illinois, it was built by John LaFlamboy, and he built it. He directs it. It's his baby. It's his project, and which is an awesome project. I don't want to go on a side tangent, but I was looking at this interview that he's done, and they were asking him, what's your most ambitious project you've done, or like your biggest failure. And it was kind of the same thing. He invested all of his life savings into a haunt that was on a ship in the water, and that ship sunk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he was like pretty ambitious to build a haunt on a ship, and then the ship sunk. So, and he has pictures of it wherever I found that article. I can't remember, just searching around for John LaFlamboy, but
literally watching your dreams drown.
Yeah. Just watched it go away. It's gone. All that hard work you put into it, I'm sure all those animatronics, all the props you had in there, gone. So, but back to HellsGate. HellsGate opened in 2016. And something unique about this haunt, which he mentions a few times, there was a few different videos Brandon and I watched. Again, Grim Life Collective. And also for this one, Tampa J, which he's a friend of Adam the Wooer. He occasionally will pop in some of Adam's videos. So I'm familiar with Tampa J.
I did catch a "shall we" in his episode, which I thought was a little bit copyright infringement, but I digress.
Shall we? Yeah.
Did you catch that? So you say it opened in 2016, but the previous iteration of it prior to that?
Go ahead.
Do you know already?
I'm curious what you're about to say.
That it was in a old prison?
Oh, no, I think that's still going.
Oh, but he was running that, and he took that. So he talked about that he had the haunt in, like this big concrete structure in an old prison.
Yeah.
And there's even videos, if you look on, he mentioned in one of those videos that they do some videos like web series kind of follow along with what they got going on there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they've got videos all the way back to 10 years ago now, from 2013, when that haunt was running, or at least when they were doing videos over at the previous location.
Okay.
But as you said, this HellsGate, where it's at now, has been going on since 2016.
Well, that clears up something. I thought, from what I read, I thought that one was still running. His zombie productions or Walking Dead productions. Oh, I feel I should have it memorized. I can't remember what it is. I thought that one was still going on, the prison one.
It might be. We could be getting our wires crossed a little bit, but from what I saw and kind of heard, just in the little bit of research I did, it seemed like he wanted to do this one out in the woods and the location it's at now because he had more freedom. He wasn't confined to just this big, as you mentioned, concrete building.
Right.
And there was inherent limitations with that. So he likes this location now because he's got a lot more freedom with what he could do.
Yeah. And what I was going to say at the very beginning of this conversation was that what makes this attraction very unique. And he was saying, I might be the only one in the US, I'm not sure. But from what he can tell, he's the only person to build an actual haunted house out of nothing. So, for example, Dent's Schoolhouse was a schoolhouse before, and all of our haunts were abandoned buildings, or things like that. Abandoned restaurants. One of our favorites was in a restaurant. And he actually built this with the intention of it being a haunted house, which is pretty cool. So then they could build it and shape it exactly how they want to. They can pick right where they want to build it. And especially going behind the scenes, it is really cool because the way that they have built it in like the behind the scenes out of the haunt, they have one hallway that goes straight down for the entire length of the building with labeled doors. And if you open those doors, that goes right into the haunt. So it's perfectly placed where actors can go in and out if they need a break. He also mentioned it's great for security. If somebody's messing with things, you just quickly pull them out that door and say, hey, please stop messing with things or we'll get the authorities involved. And then you stick them. He mentions like you pull them out and you have a talk with them and everyone's like, everything's cool. We're cool. And then you stick them back in the other door with their group and their group's like, what the heck? Where did you just go? And where did you come from? Kind of thing. So
where did you come from? Where did you go?
Yeah. So he definitely built that. He has that advantage of when he built the building, he knew exactly how he wanted it. Yeah. So the last few things we've mentioned before we go into the haunt, it is in the woods, which is
what a location.
Yeah, the location's in the woods, which is really cool and also terrifying. You have to go down what they call, is it Murder Street? I think that's what they call it.
Yeah, Murderer's Row or something.
Murderer's Road. It's an interesting haunt because it is in the middle of nowhere. And so you have to park. You don't park at the actual haunt. You park and then you get a bus or you're bussed over to the forest and where the haunt actually starts. So it is in the woods. And then this other thing, which is really interesting and kind of mind blowing, is that there's 150 actors working on a nightly basis. And on peak nights last year, so peak nights in 2022, they had 183 actors in the haunt at once. So there's no shortage. There's constantly people around you. It's just crazy. That's so many people. And when you watch the videos and walk through, there's multiple people in each room that help build the story and carry the story along. So it is really cool. So should we take a walk through the haunt?
We have to.
All right. So before you get to, if you look up pictures of this place, you're going to see the building where the haunt is. And on the outside is a facade of a really cool, like falling apart mansion. In fact, the first time I saw it, I really thought it was a falling apart mansion. I didn't realize it's like a full on like warehouse style building, just this huge building because you only see the facade. So before you get to that, you have to go through about 15 minutes of a 15-minute walk in the forest to get to the actual haunt. So, and there's a story behind this, and on their website, we don't have time to cover it all because it is very lengthy, and I appreciate the detail. But if you go on their website, there's a history, and it's telling not the true history of the area, but the history around the haunted house, the story. They're building up this story, and it is the Lost Souls Cemetery that you're going through. And part of the house is there was this captain who lost his daughters and tried to bring them back and all this stuff. That's the lore around the house. But so you're going through this Lost Soul Cemetery and you're in the forest, you're outside it, which I think brings an extra like sense of scariness. That's not right.
Dread, fear.
Yeah. Dread and fear because you don't know what's beyond the trees.
I love outside haunts because, well, I love the outside at fall time. So it's just, the vibe and the energy is just unmatched. So I think that's what's so cool about this one is it's got a pretty good amount of outside to it. But then you also have, in kind of the way he talks about it, that's just the beginning. That's not even really the haunt. That's just getting you ready for the actual haunt when you get to the house.
Right. There aren't a ton of actors outside. I mean, there are in each area, but it's like one or two people compared to the actual house. So it is, and they move you along pretty quick. It's a good way to get you moving. He talked about in his recent video with Tampa J, there was this one part where people would slow up. It wasn't necessarily a bottleneck, but there was one part that it was going through a swamp area.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming out of that, they would be laughing and naturally people would just slow down at that area. And so a way he figured out how to move them along is he got a 1920s Dodge and put it there, and it's going to have one of the old school like Aruga,
Aruga, Azuga,
Azuga. The little rascals are going to be there cheering you on. Now there will be a horn that will honk to keep you moving. He doesn't want people slowing down.
And I'm sorry if this kind of is jumping ahead to a point you'll make, but what I like about this and the one we did from last time, the dance schoolhouse, and even in the video, he says, this is not, okay, first you're in like an Egypt area and then you're at a circus. He's like, this is a whole story. The theme is this house and it's 1920s, and that's what he sticks to, which includes that 1920s vehicle that's going to scare you as you first walk in.
That is what I find most impressive. This is, I think, in my opinion, the best storytelling haunt that we have come across so far.
And it's rare and much more needed, I think.
Right. Well, he makes a big deal about that. He is, if you watch any of the videos, you can tell he's an actor. He does theater, and that comes across the way he presents himself and talks about things. He's basically acting out this part. I don't know how else to explain it. And so he wrote a thesis in college on why theater actors should be running haunts. And part of that is telling a story. You're not just, like you said, here's the Egyptian room with all the tombs and everything. And now you're going into the clown room and all of that.
Here's the morgue.
Yeah. So
it's all the same tropes over and over again, but that's not what they do here. And I'd say maybe I can speak for us as the podcast as a whole. We are very pro story and theme centric haunted houses.
For sure. So we get through the forest, and then the psychological thrill that you might not even notice is that you have to walk uphill to the house. And that's a psychological thing where imagine you have an enemy up on a hill on the higher ground and you have to walk up to them. You're not going to want to do that. There's this whole, why would you walk up a hill to go to something you don't want to do kind of thing? So he makes a good point that you have to go up a hill. You get to the gate of the house and there is Mother there, the mother of the house, very creepy, incredible character. And Mother will walk you to the front of the house and then you will be let in. So now we're in the house. Again, if you listened last week, we're not going to go room by room, but just discuss more of the theming of the house and everything. It would take too long, and I feel like you can go watch videos if you're interested, which we highly suggest, because no amount of explaining that we could do can really illustrate how amazing this house is on the inside. It is huge.
Well, speak for yourself, Matt. I think I can do a pretty good job of it. But
and then you turn left, and then you turn right, and then but when you do enter the house, you enter into the foyer, and this is where they begin telling the story. And there are these twins that, again, it was this captain's house, and the story surrounds these two twins, his daughters, that died, and there's lightning lighting up the room. And anyway, it's an incredible thing.
It's like a pre-show on an amusement park ride.
Oh, exactly. It's exactly like
that. So you go
to,
like, let's say, Haunted Mansion, just throw one out there if we have to. Haunted Mansion, you step inside, you're in the elevator, you have a whole story that's being told. It's really to get you to where you need to go in one way or another, but that's exactly the vibe you get from this foyer area in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good example. I would think a better example would probably be Rocket Raccoon telling you his hands don't scan.
I was going to say Tower of Terror, but Rocket Raccoon will suffice.
Guardians of the Galaxy. My hands don't scan. That sounded nothing like him.
No.
So you get into this haunt and you find out that the ghost's hands don't scan. And so you need to get through the house to get your hands to scan. No, Brandon's right. This is a great pre-show to lay out the story for you. And then from there, you go into the first waiting room. And this is the study. Something really cool about this is that there's portraits all along the wall. And those are people that have helped out with the haunt, people that are supporters or writers. I don't know. Ariana Grande.
Contributed in some big way.
Yeah. Ariana Grande's on there, which is interesting. He told the story of why. So she has a picture up on that wall. But yeah, people have contributed to the house. And what they're doing here is putting you into groups of 4 to 6. And then because they don't want you to see anybody behind you or in front of you, they're timing it out. So, which is a pretty common thing, I think, at most haunts. It is mentioned in one of the videos. That's not how it is at all haunts. For example, HHN. Okay, Brandon, is it Hollywood Horror Nights or is it Halloween Horror Nights?
It's Halloween Horror Nights.
See, I always thought it was Hollywood Horror Nights in California, but Halloween Horror Nights makes sense. Hollywood Studios Horror Nights. Anyway, at those haunts, if you watch videos, it's like a giant line of people. There's no.
Which sounds way better to me.
Yeah, you might appreciate that. So you have this story laid out for you, and these twins keep appearing in the house. They look terrifying with their like white dresses and black hair. And yeah, things.
I mean, twins are either really sexy or really scary. It's one way or the other.
Yeah, very true. As you go through the haunt, something that is being yelled at you constantly is get out of the hallway, get out of the hallway. So there's hallways between each room and they're urging you get out of the hallway because there is this thing that is taking over the house. And that is the darkness. Yeah. It is the darkness taking over the house. And that is a character in of itself. Something really interesting and cool is that if you go to this haunt year after year after year, you will slowly notice the same characters. The darkness has taken them a little more each year. There's a little bit more black. It almost looks like Venom, the anti-hero, with that black slime goo thing.
It also has like a Stranger Things upside down vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. So the darkness is taking over the house. It appears you are not safe in the hallways. So you got to go into each room or in between the walls, which is another way for them to keep moving you along. In fact, this haunt is so big that there are 2 waiting rooms because halfway through, they stop you, let you regroup and wait and pace you out again so that you're not too close to the group in front of you or the group behind you isn't catching up to you. So that is another thing. Again, it's so big that they stop you twice to let your group go. So you have the place to yourself, what it feels like.
So nice. They named it twice. Manhattan and New York.
What I will say about this house, we said we wouldn't go room by room, but there are typical rooms you would find in a house. Not all houses, but
no bathroom though.
Oh right? No, there's no bathroom.
Yeah. Didn't think of everything, did they?
I guess not. But you go through a study, you go through a kitchen and a pantry, you go through a library, a greenhouse,
rooms, like children's rooms, doll room,
the twins room, yeah, and a stuffed animal room, the critter room.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
When they go through the doll room, so the twins, as we mentioned, they're prevalent throughout the house.
Yeah.
But in one of the scenes, in the doll room section, they have 2 dolls that look like the twins. And there's a third that will be in a different spot because that's an actor. And when I was watching the video of the people actually going through the house, not the behind the scenes tour, I could not believe that the actor was an actor. It looked so much like just the dolls. It's crazy.
Are you talking about the mirror scene?
No.
Where they're standing in front of the mirror?
No, the doll scene. Like when they're in the dollhouse and they walk through and there's like 2 not one of them's an animatronic and one's just static.
Oh, the doll, the actual doll.
They're like the dolls of the girls, basically.
Yes.
And there's 2 of them, but then a third that they have in there that's actually an actor. And when I was watching the video, like I watched behind the scenes beforehand. And so I knew that one of them was going to be a real live actor. But when I saw it, I was like, that can't be an actor. It looks so much like the other dolls. So that was just crazy how they can get it that good.
It really is. I don't want to take away from what you said, but the thing I noticed that bummed me out when I saw that is that Dent Schoolhouse also has those same dolls. And that kind of bummed me out. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yep. So
bummer.
Yeah, but they fit well in the doll room. And you see this giant dollhouse, which is actually a pretty close replica of what the actual house looks like on the outside. And that doll that Brandon's talking about that is an actor will push a door open for you that you might not see. And that's when you go into the twins room, which again, that you approach this mirror where there are the two twins staring in the mirror, and the way that it's a trifold. So the way they have the two ends angled, it's like a twin is looking at you the entire time. The terrifying thing is that one of them is actually real. So just watching that creeped me out. And leaving that room, I didn't know I was afraid of closets, but leaving that room, you exit through a closet to the next room. So that was pretty terrifying. There's also an attic, and the coolest thing ever you go up the stairs to the attic, which makes sense. But to get down, you go down a slide.
Slide, yeah.
So that made me think about, in general, people with disabilities, maybe in a wheelchair or that need crutches that possibly couldn't do this. Do they have an elevator there?
Oh, I'm sure.
Or do you bypass the attic scene?
I'm sure there's a way that they'll get people down there, but...
You go through an awesome lab and a morgue. And then this is one part that I was like, does that fit in the story? Which it does, but you go into a giant dragon room.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
It is the dungeon. It's what lives under the house, which is part of the darkness. And you exit through the darkness, which is taking over the house. Ooh.
Yeah, those dragons. I know the dragons, they're like kind of similar. You see them elsewhere. I think there's one where we're from that has the same dragon, but it's the way they've got it set up is they're not dueling, but there's one on each side, and man, it is just a whole vibe. And they got that creepy person in the middle of the darkness standing there, kind of like a devil character. It's just unreal.
So that's basically it. I'm pretty sure I said we're not going to go room by room, and then I just listed all the rooms, but that's what we did.
And then you exit through the gift shop,
which is really cool.
Well, you go outside, like you kind of calm down a little bit.
Yeah,
the topiaries.
The topiary.
Like, oh, it's nice. It's over. And then they've got a chainsaw guy.
He's just trimming the hedges.
But yeah. He's supposed to be there.
Well, that was a quick walk through the haunt. You ready for a quiz?
Yes.
All right. Hopefully you don't get all three, but I guess you probably will. So, although not active anymore, how did you used to get a refund for completing the haunt? A, you'd find a specific key in the key room. B, uncovering the hidden room towards the middle of the haunt. Or C, peeing your pants.
I'm stumped on this one. This was in one of the videos I watched, I missed it completely, but I'm going to say you find a key.
That's correct. Good guess. Yeah, they've taken this out.
What were the other options? You find a key, and what was the other one?
There's a hidden room in the middle of the haunt that you'd discover.
Peeing your pants.
I
knew it wasn't peeing your pants because he said that's not one reason that you can exit the haunted house. That's not a good enough reason.
He says there's exits everywhere, but peeing your pants is not a reason to exit.
Yeah.
So yeah, there used to be a key room, and you would be instructed when you were in the key room, you have 30 seconds or whatever to find this key, and if you found that key, you would get a refund.
That's fun. I wonder why they don't do it anymore.
All right, question number 2. The gates leading up to the house came from what real cemetery? Is it A, Rose Hill Cemetery, B, the Lost Souls Cemetery, or C, Burr Oak Cemetery?
This is a trick question, Matt.
Yes, it is.
The answer is C, the Burr Oak Cemetery. But in the beginning of one of the videos, he says it was Rose Hill, but he was wrong and corrected it.
Yeah, he corrected himself. I wonder if that was bothering him the whole video, except at the very beginning when he says it's Rose Hill. And at the very end, before the video ends, he's like, I got to make a correction. It was Burr Oak. And basically that cemetery was condemned for stacking people. Like
reselling plots and stuff.
Yeah. And so he got the gate from that haunt.
That's not a spooky thing. It's just capitalism at its worst.
Yes. And final question, Brandon. Go for 100% here.
All right.
Ooh, this might be tough. I don't know if you'll get this one. What famous movie audio clip can be heard coming from one of the props in the house? Is it A, from Friday the 13th? Is it B, Nightmare on Elm Street? 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Or is it C, Night at the Museum? Me gum gum, you dum dum.
Well, I have no idea. So I'm going to guess what may be the most outrageous answer, but might actually be correct, is C.
Well, Brandon, you would be correct. And I was really confused when I heard this audio and I saw the The
the
giant heads from
Olmec,
like
the
the
head.
Eastern Islands.
Yeah, that's why I thought it because I noticed that too, and I was like, huh, interesting. So you mentioned that, and I took a guess, and am I the first one on the podcast to get 100%? Can you do an applause clip right now for me?
No,
Okay.
sorry. That just takes time. I'm not getting applause. Well done.
Okay.
Gold star for you. Oh,
Thank
so
you.
that's the quiz time. Let's move on and wrap this up. Begin wrapping up. What is your favorite themed room, Brandon?
My favorite themed room
Now remember,
is
I guess you can say the answer, but I'm going to ask your favorite and the scariest. So, but that probably can be the same.
no, I wouldn't say it's the same. My favorite is just the beginning. The beginning of the pre-show. Love that whole room. You didn't mention I don't sorry if you mentioned this, but they've got the twins that pop out.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a picture of them and then it becomes the twins and one of them flies across the room. That whole thing, just love it. That's my favorite room.
I think my favorite room would be the dragons, the dungeon.
Yeah, dragons is really cool.
Yeah.
Just
Just huge,
close second for me.
yeah, huge props where you look up and they're giant dragons. Very cool. I'm curious what your scariest room is because I know what mine is, but go ahead. What do you think is the scariest room? The room you would not want to be in?
There's a moment when they have you crawl through these, you either crawl through one of three spots. That would be really scary for me.
Up in the attic.
Yeah, I think it's the attic.
Yeah, there's 3 trunks you can go through. And yeah.
And I kind of missed it. One of the video, he said it was his favorite sound of the whole haunt. I don't know what that sound was, but
it's him slamming the door.
Oh, okay.
So you get through and he slams the door. Yes, that's his favorite sound in the whole haunt.
Yeah, very scary.
Mine, the scariest room, without a doubt, is the twins' room. It's like the doll room, the doll house. The twins are in there, their beds. That is terrifying. And then exiting through the closet.
Okay, yeah, that's probably would be for a whole room. That's probably mine.
Looks
the clothes.
Awful.
Oh yeah, flashing lights. Not a good combo for me.
No. So that's basically it. Really quick, before we do our final thoughts, I just want to mention, and I'm not making this up, this is true. I just got an email saying that my delivery from Magic Candle Company is here. I got some nice scents for my birthday, and I got some good discounts because I'm a member with them. So if you're interested in getting some scents, check out magiccandlecompany.com. And that we actually have an affiliate link that is in the description of our episode. Feel free to use that link. It doesn't save you any extra money, but there's always discount codes going on through the site. As long as you use our link, we will get credit. So that is that.
Yeah, makes us money. So you should feel good about yourself.
Yep. All right. I think it's true that both of us would really want to finish or visit this haunt.
Yes, I would hate it, but I would do it. I want to do it.
Would you rather go here or Dent Schoolhouse?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I might lean towards this one, honestly. Like I love Dent, but this one it's got the outside portion in the woods. I love that so much that it probably takes a top spot for me.
Yeah. It's going to be hard for me to top this one. This is my personal favorite. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's my personal favorite. One thing that, again, we mentioned about this is that they don't claim it's haunted inside because they built the building. So at almost every haunt, It's like, we bought this restaurant and when it was a restaurant, somebody committed suicide and it's haunted by that person. They don't have those stories. So I don't think they can say that this place is actually haunted. One of our most important questions, though, is does it have a waterfall? And I'm curious if you noticed any waterfalls.
So in the greenhouse section, they don't have a waterfall per se, but they do have a water feature.
Yeah, that's what I have down with the spiders. There is a water feature. So close enough. We'll give it to them.
We'll give it to them.
Yeah, they've got a waterfall. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up, Brandon?
You know what? I think they literally nailed the storytelling. They really knocked it out of the park on this one. That's all I want to say. I was just amazed by how good the story was, the setup. Even, not your lay haunt goer is going to notice those things as they go through, maybe as much that it's a full cohesive story, but something that we love. And yeah, I got my applause earlier. I give them their applause now.
I agree. And the last thing I want to point out is that you don't have to be extra gory to be scary. There are some gory parts in this, but not really. They're telling a great story about this mansion, this huge house with the darkness and that in itself is terrifying. So that's what I really appreciate about it. It's so unique. This, again, is a personal favorite of mine. If I had to travel anywhere to go to a haunt, this would be it, in Lockport, Illinois. So that is it for this week. Thank you for joining us. That was kind of a quick one. We highly recommend you go watch videos. You can see videos of people going through the haunt with the actors. Then you can also see behind the scenes videos of people going through it empty with the owner, John. So it's really cool. I think if you enjoy this episode, you enjoy those videos probably even more because you get to visualize everything. So thank you for joining us this week. And we will see you next week, where we will discover another forest, another haunt, and another forest.
Something else very spooky.
Something very spooky.
It might even be a little overloaded.
Oh, good one. All right. Sounds good. We'll see you next week.
See you then, and we'll see you another time.